What up, Raffleaders? Welcome back to my channel. We're back in South Ruimveldt Gardens. That's what the sign says. South Ruimveldt Gardens. And we're on Aubrey Barker Road. That's looking west along Aubrey Barker Road. We're actually at the intersection of Mandela Avenue and South Ruimveldt's Aubrey Barker Road. This is the famous intersection that is a roundabout at South Ruimveldt Gardens intersection. Like I said in previous videos, this should have been an overpass, but the government has built an intersection here and put a bird in the roundabout, in the center of the roundabout. Now that's looking south along Heroes Highway, which is now called, well, it used to be called the Bypass Road. It's now called Heroes Highway. That's looking south. But the reason why we're here is I wanted to show you what's happening with this Aubrey Barker Road project. Now, several years ago, there were plans to widen Aubrey Barker Road. It seems as if this has been completed. Right, Aubrey Barker Road has now been widened. And what I wanted to show you is what it looks like. What does Aubrey Barker Road look like? Now this is looking north towards the seawall that is along Mandela Avenue, which eventually becomes Sheriff Street before you get to the seawall. And that's the statue. It is supposed to be an eagle. It has not yet been regularized. Could be a carrion crow, but it is a standing joke in Guyana. This statue has been a standing joke in Guyana that basically summarizes the lack of mediocrity. Basically, it summarizes the mediocrity that this government represents, the way it's treating the economy, the way it's treating the infrastructure of Guyana, and so on. Just really mediocre. Now, this is what I wanted to show you. That is Aubrey Barker Road. What has happened to Aubrey Barker Road? Well, they've made it wider. Of course, it's not yet completed. At this intersection, there's still an open drain that has to be filled in and covered. Right, basically what you're looking at here is the end of Aubrey Barker Road at the intersection with this new Heroes Highway. But I wanted to show you what's happened with Aubrey Barker Road now that it's been completed. Last time we were here, there were huge clouds of dust. Lots of dust, because of course they hadn't yet paved the road, but now it's been paved. They still haven't put the road markings, but this is what it looks like today on Friday the 6th of September. Here is a cow pen in the middle of the city. Cows. There are cows being reared in the city. So South Ruimveldt Gardens is part country, part city. This is actually the reserve, piece of land that is supposed to be reserved for right-of-way. Of course, the right-of-way has been used up. The government has allowed Citizens Bank and a couple of other buildings to be built on this reserve. And on this section of the reserve, cows are being reared. Anyway, back to Aubrey Barker Road. So what happened is they were supposed to widen Aubrey Barker Road. Now they've obviously done that now. This is what it looks like.
Distance 2 miles. Duration 45 minutes 30 seconds. Pace 31 minutes 10 seconds per mile.
This is what it looks like at the intersection with the roundabout, the cow pen, and the new sidewalk. So the sidewalk, at least in this case, they seem to have covered it with some kind of cement. The problem, like I said, is that these sidewalks are not built to some code. There is no uniform code that is used to design and construct these sidewalks. And so the width, of course, is different. Everywhere you go, the sidewalk is different. Compare that to the United States, for example. Anywhere you go in the country, the sidewalks are very similar. That's because there is some building code, some national building codes that govern the sidewalks, construction of sidewalks. We haven't gotten the memo for that yet. And parking on the sidewalks is still quite common practice in Guyana. So the road is wider. Aubrey Barker Road is wider. If you commuted in South Ruimveldt in the past, you would know that this used to be a very narrow road, narrow and bumpy road, but now it has been converted into a much wider road and smoother. So that's an improvement. Problem is that the mediocrity still stands. I don't know when they will paint the road signs, the road markings on the road, but so far they have not been painted. I don't know if this is officially completed or if it's still work in progress, but there are no road markings. There's no center lines on this road. And I actually haven't gone the length of this Aubrey Barker Road in South, so I don't know how far it extends. We'll have to go the length of the road to see exactly how far it goes. But this is South Ruimveldt. I think I went as far as the entrance to Tuckville. But this is what the road looks like now in September. The road surface is smooth and it is covered with asphalt as opposed to concrete, which they use to construct the sidewalk and the pavement and the road surface on Heroes Highway. Again, there's no details on the choice of materials. But this is what is happening in South Ruimveldt Gardens. A number of people have asked me to review the neighborhoods in South Ruimveldt Gardens. I haven't done so primarily because it's a residential neighborhood and you can't really walk through a residential neighborhood without violating some people's privacy. And I would have to spend a lot more time in production to blur out people's faces and so on from the video, and that just slows things down. So I've actually avoided going through especially busy residential neighborhoods because I don't really want to violate people's privacies. But I will eventually get to reviewing the changes in South Ruimveldt Gardens. This, for example, is, okay, the roadside is down, so I can't tell you what street it is, but I guess I can if I cross the road. So as the street sign says, the street sign is down. I just wanted to show you what the street names are. This one is Aubrey Barker Road, and the other one is Baramita Street. So it's Baramita Street. It's Baramita Street here in South Ruimveldt Gardens. And this is what it looks like now. On the other side, you can see the sidewalk is just a drain cover. It's just a cover for the drains. Like I said, there is no standard construction design for these public infrastructure, and that is a major problem we have. I think the National Bureau of Standards should be responsible for issuing design standards. This, for example, is a trip hazard. It's also not wheelchair accessible. In other words, to get onto the sidewalk with a wheelchair, somebody would have to lift the chair onto the sidewalk. There are no curb cuts. There are no ramps onto the sidewalk. But the road has been completed, which shows you where the government is paying attention to. And these roads are built with taxpayers' money. So the government is more interested in road surface than pedestrians. In other words, vehicular traffic is given priority instead of pedestrians. So this sidewalk is not as accessible to pedestrians as you would imagine. This, for example, is what happens when you don't recess the lifts for the drain covers. What you have is a trip hazard if you're walking in the night in a poorly lit environment such as this. You could trip, end up in the hospital for some kind of injury. But this is what is happening here in Guyana. This is what is happening specifically in South Ruimveldt Gardens with the widening of this road. The last time we were here, I think this building was being sold. Don't know if they completed the transaction, the sale. Again, more trip hazards just on the sidewalk. But the road has been completed, which is what we wanted to show you today. This intersection, that's the entrance to Tuckville, or one of the entrances. And some people were asking me to go through, some of these parks, these older neighborhoods. And like I said, the reason why I haven't gone through some of these older neighborhoods, morning, is because of here we go again. So this is not only a trip hazard, it's a place where you can fall and break your leg. Part of the sidewalk is caved in from a drain cover falling into the drain. But this is what I refer to as mediocrity, but it actually shows you where the government is paying attention. So the government seems to be paying attention to roads, but not any serious attention to sidewalks. In other words, there's very little respect for pedestrians, and the money that is spent to upgrade these neighborhoods treats pedestrians as if they're invisible. It seems as if the widening of the road does not extend beyond very much further than this intersection. So, like I said, that was a reserve. Behind that fence is a reserve, and all of that land is supposed to be reserved for future transportation development, like a train line should have been built onto that reserve. Instead, people are putting permanent structures on the reserve. And that's because of lack of enforcement of zoning in Guyana. There's whole neighborhoods that are being built on land that was reserved. This is another house that has been abandoned now. This is a traditional South Ruimveldt Gardens house. This is the house that was probably built at the very beginning when this was a housing scheme. Of course, a lot of the people who bought those houses upgraded them eventually to their own designs, but some of the original houses still exist. That's one of them. In this case, the house has been abandoned, probably because the owners moved overseas, moved abroad. But that's the story of most of what has happened in Guyana. So the reserve, like I said, is supposed to be for future transportation development, but instead, this one has been turned into a scrap yard for, what's that, Cummins Electrical is operating their scrap yard out of this part of the reserve. And most of the reserve land has now been taken up, built on. Again, more trip hazards. It seems that this intersection coming up is the extent to which the widening of Aubrey Barker Road has been taken. So beyond this point, it seems as if the road is, we'll see, it's still its narrow self. Okay, so it's a good thing that I came down to this end of the road so you can see exactly how far this road construction reaches. Right, this is again one of the streets in South Ruimveldt Gardens, and at this point it seems the widening of the road comes to an end. That's a wash bay. A lot of these wash bays now. And that's the sidewalk. Some reserve land. It's now being used for industrial. This used to be a entirely residential neighborhood. Now, of course, heavy industries have moved in. Morgan's Investment Inc. They are now located on the reserve, and this is a piece of land. I don't know if this is something under construction or if they've just turned this over to heavy industry. I'm assuming that it has to do with the road construction. But this is the end of the widening of Aubrey Barker Road. So the road has been widened up to this point, and beyond this point it is still in its former condition. So that's what's happening with Aubrey Barker Road. A small section of the road has been widened, but it remains to be seen whether this will be completed. So they basically built a wider road, but only up to this point. At this point, it reverts back to what it used to be, what it was in its unchanged form, the narrow strip of road into South Ruimveldt Gardens that is Aubrey Barker Road. So this is where road construction ends. You can see sidewalk construction ends abruptly at this point with steel rebar sticking up into the puzzling sky, and that's the extent of the widening of Aubrey Barker Road. See, beyond this point the road is in its original state. It's still a narrow piece of roadway. As you can see, there's still drains on the construction, but somehow they stopped at this point. So these drains on the other side, there is no more construction on the way. But this is it. This is what Aubrey Barker Road looks like in 2024. That's September 6th, Friday, September 6th, 2024. We will revisit in future to see, in fact, whether this gets completed over time and how long it takes. But this is where we are in 2024. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. In the comments below, tell me what you think about the construction of Aubrey Barker Road, the widening of Aubrey Barker Road. This project has been ongoing for at least 4 or 5 years. At this point, it's the entrance to Festival City. Morning. This is Blue Mountain Road, entrance to Festival City in South Ruimveldt Gardens. Alright, so and this, of course, this building at the intersection here is Festival City Polyclinic. I don't know if you can see it in this video. Let's see if you can get. Right, it says Festival City Polyclinic. That's this building at this intersection. And that's the Blue Mountain Road entrance to Festival City. And back here is Blue Mountain Road in South Ruimveldt Gardens. So that's what's up, guys. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. This is what Aubrey Barker Road looks like in 2024. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know about infrastructure development here in South Ruimveldt Gardens and around the world. Clearly there's an intention to continue building out Aubrey Barker Road, widening Aubrey Barker Road, but this is as far as the construction has gone here at Festival City and South Ruimveldt Garden. This, of course, is Andrew's Supermarket at the corner here of Blue Mountain Road and Aubrey Barker Road in Festival City. All right, Blue Mountain Road, Aubrey Barker Road. Let people know what's happening in the fastest growing city and country in the world, Guyana. Later!